Welcome. We're going to continue developing our corridor ceiling and our restaurant ceiling. What I'm doing right now is showing an underlay of what is on the first floor, and this is helpful when we're working on reflected ceiling plans to see what is on the first floor underneath, say some furniture. Now in the corridor, I've set up another sketch ceiling. And I'm just putting them in at different levels. I can't get one kind of two different heights out of one ceiling. So I have to make it in different sections, and where the height changes, that's where I need a soffit. So I'm just putting in the last little bit of ceiling. As I said before, you're going to need to put in a ceiling in every room, including the kitchen. And there's my last piece of ceiling, and we can see that it raises and lowers in the hallway going to the reflected ceiling plan. And here's where I'm going to put in my soffit wall. Now, a note of caution: when we use a soffit wall, first of all, it's a very thin wall. It's literally 2 inches thick. And once we set it in to be base offset of 8 feet or whatever we have used, we have to remember when we go and put in a different wall that it would also try to come in at 8 feet. And so you have to be very mindful when you're using the soffit wall that you remember to reset it back to 0 if you need to do other wall work. Now here I'm just painting my ceilings, my gypboard, making sure everything's that crisp white that I want to use on the project. Now, one of the things that happens with reflected ceiling plans is that we cannot see the ceiling or the floor. So there's a couple of different things. One is I'm going to lower the view cut line so that I can see where the doors are, because I wanted my ceiling to coordinate with my restroom door location, so I could put some signage there. I'm going to go back to my section, and I can see the first floor ceiling is in, and I have the second floor ceiling in as well. And that's what we want to see. I'm going to change out a door. I found those true style doors. I loaded them in. I unloaded the zip file. And here I'm simply changing the door. And there are other options for these panels on the doors, and I'm just working with them now. Here we have a horizontal section through the space. This was the section maybe from the stairwell, but I'm going to actually flip this section that I used in the corridor around. Sometimes I'm making sections just to look at things. I'm going to hide that stairwell section because I had notes and things associated with it. So I'm turning the section around, and I'm taking the view so that it goes all the way through to that I can see the side wall. I could use the elevation for this as well, but these are just some working files that I can use to look at the design and change it. So going over to the view, we're going to be able to look at putting in a special ceiling. And we can do this just like we put in any other kind of component. And but we have to be first of all clear about what surface we're working on. You know, what are the materials, and that we put it in the correct category, which is the ceiling category. So there's our ceiling, our acoustical tile ceiling. I'm raising it up to 9 foot 2 inches off the second floor so that it'll get out of the way of the window frames. And now I'm going to make this special ceiling, some kind of canopy. I'm going to name it Canopy, and I want you to do something similar in your design, whether it's vertical or horizontal, just something to hang down in the space that's going to help define the space. It could be a rigid plane. I decided to make mine a little bit more drapey. I started out with a curve, and I looked at different angles, and I landed on this one, and I'm going to offset it 2 inches and copy it, and I'm going to make it out of a fabric. So here I am offsetting it, then I've got to close the ends of that so I can make an extrusion. And it's going to make the extrusion based on the sidewall, which I can always move it out from there. But that's where it's going to start. So I'm going to make this extrusion about 4 feet deep. because there are just some canopies hanging down the space. And here's where I'm going to go find the fabrics. There are fabrics available, and you can load more fabrics and put that into my project and create that on this extrusion. I decided, since it was fabric, that it was more gravity would have it draped down instead of up, so I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. If you're ever having trouble with getting it exactly with the mouse, you can always input the angle that you want or the measurement, and I'm going to sign off on that and finish that model. And when I look at the 3D, I have to maneuver around because it was a little bit hard to see. And remember, in the 3D, I can move things in floor plan as well as three-dimensionally. Of course, it's safer to move it in the floor plan view or the straight-on view. And with any kind of extrusion, it's usually connected into the side wall, so we have to actually move it away from the side wall. And here I'm going to then you cannot use create similar on an extrusion. It's going to make you create it again, but you can use copy and put on multiple. And I could have left on constrain, especially if I wanted them all to be in a straight line. And here I'm going to copy all three of those to the side. So you need to get your design for your ceiling element in there, and it needs to make some sense with either your furniture arrangement or the use of the space. You are invited to do different things at your soffits and your hallways. These are just some suggestions, and this is the 3D view that you should be turning in so that I can see all this wonderful progress that you're doing on your design. Thank you.